Hello everybody and welcome to Free UFC Bet Picks show. In this video we are breaking down a bantamweight fight between Raoni Barcelos and Khalid Taha coming up this Saturday, November 7th for UFC Vegas 13. So let's start with Raoni Barcelos. He is the favorite at minus 385. He's got a record of 15-1. 8 of those wins by KO, his one loss by submission. In the UFC, he's got a record of 4-0, so undefeated in the UFC. He's going off of an 8-fight win streak, and he's beat some really tough opponents too, so it's pretty impressive there. Khalid Taha is the underdog at plus 285. He's got a record of 13-2. He also has 1 no contest. Of those 13 wins, 8 were KOs, 3 submissions, 2 decisions. So that no contest was against Bruno Silva. That was it was a little over a year ago, I guess, because he was banned for a year. It was originally a win for Taha by submission, but it was overturned after he failed his drug test, so he was banned for a year. Now he's back. He did start his career on an 11-fight win streak, undefeated, but since then he really, since that first loss, he really hasn't had a steady winning streak since then. So I'm pretty confident in going for Raoni here. What do you think, Aaron?
Yep, you are smart. Raoni's a big favorite, biggest favorite on the card. He's a good fighter. He's getting up there in years. He's 35 for the lighter guys. That's pretty old. These heavyweights fight till they're 45 if they want. Because they rely less on that twitch instinct. Their technique and their power lasts. With these smaller fighters, you gotta have that just NFL type of twitch and just a reaction time, and that especially when you get in fights that fades, right? So some of the other experts they've had, they've been having Barcelos age as 33, but he's born in summer of 85. Porky's baby. He is 35. He's fought good fighters, like you said. He just beat Said Nurmagomedov. We just watched Said Nurmagomedov, absolutely decapitate a guy in the first round. I shouldn't make that. I'm not going to go there. Said was like a 4-1 favorite in his last fight. Said's a good fighter. We all like, Said. Mm-hmm. Raoni was a slight underdog in that fight. It was a pick'em. Raoni was like minus 105, just a slight underdog, and really even first round. And then Raoni was just kind of walking him down. He was I feel like he's got a little bit of a Claudio Silva type of effect. Like he's on this ridiculous win streak, but I think it's just a little exaggerated. He's really good on the ground. We beat Chris Gutierrez 3 fights ago. I think really highly of Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez got great kicks, great just kind of all-around game, but he just takes him down and chokes him out in the second round. His last fight against Carlos Swachin is not really that great of a win on your resume, but, finishes him in the second round. And Said, he was just walking Said down. It's just vicious, technical striking, just pretty low volume, but mixes up the leg kicks and just hook combos. And you could tell he's got pop because guys don't want to stand in there with him. They're backing away. They're trying to create space. They end up putting themselves on the cage. But I think as far as 5-1 favorites go, this fight is not that lopsided. Khalid Taha is not some scrub making his UFC debut who just fought, like an amateur or something 2 fights ago, right? I mean, he knocks out Boston Salmon in the first minute. Boston Salmon is a fine fighter. He beats Bruno Silva. We just watched Bruno Silva a couple weeks ago, a good fighter. And he, submits him in the third round. And like you said, it becomes a no contest, but
he did still do it.
Yeah, the resume says one thing, but when we watch the tape, I'm impressed by it, right?
Yeah.
His last loss was the unanimous decision loss against Narimani, and Narimani's a good fighter. He was much bigger than Taha. He was a huge favorite. He was like a 3-1 favorite, and Taha made it close, right? So last time Taha was fighting a big favorite, he goes to a decision. That's not the type. That doesn't sound like the type of favorite in Barcelos. If we think, he does finish people, but he didn't finish Saeed. He did finish Kurt Holobaugh. We didn't talk about that yet. That was just kind of a just ugly fight. Kurt Holobaugh didn't have his best performance that night. He was landing, Barcelos was landing uppercuts on him and just putting on a quick little boxing clinic. It was not a good performance by Holobaugh, especially in that third round. I think this fight is much closer than it appears. Not a pick'em, but like if I was handicapping this, I'd put Barcelos at minus 170-ish. And anything beyond that, I would not be betting this at minus 250. I'm certainly not betting it at
385.
Minus 385, yeah. And I've seen a little steeper than that, just depending. Some of the books are just super steep because they just take more margin. Really tempted to pick Taha. He's younger. Barcelos, he's very good on the ground. He's pretty good striking. He's knocked people out. He finishes them. He's in there for the finish. Mm-hmm. But, the last fight against Saeed, I could see this being a close fight like that one. Khalid Taha, he just starts peppering you with leg kicks. And then once you throw that leg kick back, he's just waiting with Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson-like counter combos. He's just waiting for you. The second you pick that foot up off the ground, you are facing a storm of heavy hooks. He's knocked people out in the first round that, Boston Sam is not chinny or anything. I think Khalid Taha can clip him. I think Khalid Taha can go to a decision and, win or lose a split decision. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I'm picking him. I'm picking the underdog. We've had chalky cards. Normally I'm a very chalk heavy guy. I'm not out here trying to look clever picking dogs. If I pick a dog, it's because I think that they have a real shot. I think Khalid Taha's got a real shot. This is the biggest underdog on the card, so feel free to roast me if you want. But I think the internet might break or what, Saturday night when Khalid Taha, again, this guy's not making his debut. This guy's not a short replacement fighter. Khalid Taha is a good UFC fighter with really impressive UFC wins. He should not be this big of an underdog to anybody, to be honest. Especially not 35-year-old Raoni Barcelos. That being said, of course, everyone's picked him. I have not come across a single person to pick Khalid Taha. Right. So don't let me get in your head. Don't change your bets. But what you should do out there is not be putting Raoni Barcelos in your parlays at minus 400 to give you a tiny bit of juice, because I promise you this fight is way closer than a Bobby Green versus Thiago Moises. It's way closer than Alexander Romanov should be twice as wide of a favorite than Barcelos versus Taha.
It's a dogger pass.
Absolute dogger pass. All
right, so DK prices. We got Raoni Barcelos at 9,100. His average points per fight, 103. Mm-hmm. Khalid Taha is at 7,100. Average points per fight at 68.5. So, I mean,
I think
if you're picking Taha, I'm assuming you might be looking at him for fantasy there too.
Absolutely right. Yep. Now, when you're playing DFS, you want to spread out your lineup. So as far as punt plays go, I mean, Taha's got to be like the cheapest fighter on the card, I assume, right?
Yeah,
I think he's got to be the cheapest fighter on the fantasy rosters. Mm-hmm. He absolutely has the ability to win, and if he does, it's going to be in a high-scoring manner. So, again, we know Raoni is a huge favorite, right? For a reason. Okay, of course, so, Jamie Simmons is going to be the cheapest, barely probably, right, versus Taha. But Taha's going to be extremely cheap. Yeah. So when you're looking in that range, Taha is 3 times a better option than Jamie Simmons.
Yeah.
Especially in GPP where you're looking for finishers, you're looking for underdogs. Mm-hmm. Raoni Barcelos, I've been talking up Taha this whole time, but as far as those favorites go, Barcelos does have, he does finish fighters, like I said. So I think they're both fine plays. When you're looking, typically for these more expensive fighters, you want the heavyweights. This fight is more likely to go to decision than is Romanov Rogerio de Lima. Up at this price tag, take Romanov all day, twice on Saturday, and so Honey's a fine play, but I think take Romanov instead for sure.
Yeah.
Romanov, Jaime Barcelos, there's a good chance that he finishes Taha, but Taha's not chinny. Taha's not some chump off the street. He's a good fighter.
Yeah, it's definitely not a lock-in for Barcelos here.
No, and the line would indicate that it is. This is one of those lines that's going to shit in some parlays, not ours, honest. I hate to do this to everybody, but real quickly, I'm going to look at, just the lines to go to decision and see what they say here. So got it right here. All right. Khalid Taha, Honey Barcelos, prop bets, bestfightodds.com. The over-under is 2.5 rounds. And it's pretty much pick 'em odds. It's -110, -110. So that kind of shows you that is interesting, actually. That kind of makes you want to ease off both these guys in DFS. When Honey does win, it's not first round knockout. He beats on guys for the first round and finishes them in the second. I honestly think that under 2.5 rounds in this fight is pretty attractive. I think this fight gets finished. Under 2.5 at pick'em odds, -110. And especially if you think Honey Barcelos is going to win, then you're expecting him to win in a landslide. You're not expecting Honey Barcelos to go to a decision. Don't go -400 on Honey. Just go under 2.5 rounds. So if the fight lasts, 12 minutes, you win. If the fight lasts 13 minutes, you lose. Because Taha could take his head off, Barcelos could take him down and choke him out. Under 2.5.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good bet. All right, is there anything else we want to go over? Barcelos versus Taha.
No.
All right, our next video will be Ian Heinisch versus Brendan Allen. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and tune in for that next video, and we'll see you guys there.